So the way I do searches is you always have some thoughts about what happens if a coach is no longer with you. And then when the news happened, about 24 hours later, I had a pretty extensive search or list. And then within 24 hours of that, I had it down to probably about 5-6 people that I thought made sense, and started just diving in from there. And so early on, Brad was on the big list. He got on the short list. And the more I dug into them and the things I felt we needed, and talking to a lot of good Alabama baseball people, what makes us successful, Brad checked all the boxes. And so when he and I got together on Monday, I really did think it was only going to be about an hour conversation. And then 3.5 hours later, he walked out of my house, and I thought, we could make this thing work if everything goes well.
Did you expect him to bring such a detailed presentation with him and kind of bring that?
It didn't surprise me, knowing how he operates. Guys, he's really smart. And, smart people can think their way through these things and make good decisions and present and effectively communicate what their ideas and what their plans are, and Brad did a wonderful job of that.
How much did you talk to John Cohen in this process? And how awkward, weird, I don't know what you would term it. But
John's got a responsibility, obviously, to Mississippi State. He's a longtime friend of mine. I've known him back when he hired Brad at Kentucky. His wife, Nell, they're both Tuscaloosa people, but he had to be respectful to Mississippi State. I bounced some ideas off of him, but I didn't want to put him in a challenging position. But I know he likes the fact that we hired Brad.
Did you reach out to guys like Gary and other head coaches that he's worked under?
Gary and I actually went to the same high school. I've known Gary, he's a little bit older than me, but I've known Gary forever. I talked to a lot of people throughout college baseball and used the resources that I had.
Brad mentioned pretty prominently that enhancing the student athletes' experience here. How important was that for this hire?
Well, at the end of the day, you obviously want to go out and compete and win. There's a reason we keep score, but you want your student athletes to have a great experience, and that's why when it's all said and done, I'm not expecting the kids on the team to love every decision that a coach makes. You want them to respect the coach, but you don't necessarily want them to always like the coach. There's a difference there, and it was interesting as we went through this process and we called some of his former players. They loved him. They respected him. They thought he had a great baseball mind. And he fit, again, with what we were looking for, and so I think that student-athlete experience is a critical component of it.
Greg, what does it say about Brad that he, said he's going to give Auburn his all tonight in that regional final game?
Yeah, I think he should. I know that if we had an assistant coach that was being hired away from our department, I'd want them to give their all to Alabama, and it doesn't matter what school it is. I think it's important that we treat the people that we bring in the way we want to be treated, and I think that's the way we're handling this.
Kind of along those lines, given the uncertainty that he may go within the Super, is there anything with Coach Rooney, Coach Wells, are they going to stay on this week? What's kind of the...
Coach Rooney's been wonderful. He's done an admirable job under a very challenging situation, and Brad's going to talk to Coach Rooney, and he'll make the best decision tonight after they're done that he can for the next week, and we'll know more tomorrow.
Did you have a conversation with Jay at Auburn about that?
Jay, I called Jay right away when I decided I wanted to talk to Brad. Jay and I have been friends a long time, just like I'd want Jay to call me for something similar. And so I did that, and Jay was first class. Butch Thompson I've known for a long time too, and Butch was first class too.
We thought postponing this today since they were playing this evening?
No, we thought the best thing was to move the press conference to today. It worked with his schedule with the game tonight, and so we talked about trying to hold it through the weekend, but as you can see with everybody I have around here, there was some interest in it, and we didn't think it would hold through the weekend. So we made the announcement on, was it Thursday last week? Yeah. Made the announcement on Thursday, so they had 24 hours before their game on Friday.
Can you speak to the uniqueness of the situation where you're going to have an Alabama head coach wearing the jersey of its biggest rival?
It is unique. That's well said. Yeah.
And Greg, you talked about, I know he had 14 years of SEC experience, but no head coaching experience. But I imagine the experience in the league weighed heavily in your decision.
Yeah, the experience in the league, absolutely. The experience within the state of Alabama, I saw as a bonus for us. And and again, I knew Brad a little bit, but he was not on my speed dial at all. And when he sat down and he was able to effectively communicate his plan for Alabama baseball, and his national presence from a recruiting standpoint, I mean, that's a big figure to recruit young men from 25 different states. That's a big deal. That can help us here at Alabama and what our strengths are. And then on top of that, he's got great ties up in Canada as well. And so I just thought from a recruiting standpoint and then from a coaching standpoint as well and student athlete development, both on and off the field, incredible plan and really fit well for us here at Alabama.
Can you go into more detail about that presentation? Were there like pie charts? I mean, what we talking?
It was about he had it reminded me of John Cohen a little bit, and actually Jay Johnson too. He had the PowerPoint. It was probably about 12 to 14 pages, and he hit it all: academics, compliance, coaching, recruiting, alums, community, everything. All the bases. He hit a grand slam, to use a baseball analogy.
Did he mention at all, or did you mention at all something about being patient or waiting a few years to see how the process works?
I told him he will have a lot of patience from us. That's critical. We have to have stability in our coaching staff, and I really believe people come to Alabama, they're going to stay at Alabama. You want to be here at Alabama, and I really believe with his plan, and we're going to give him time to implement it, and patience will be a key component of that.
How much did him saying, like even today, he said he's going to work to his personnel? It's not going to be something.
Yeah, I watched when I hired Dan Mullen, the football coach at Mississippi State. Dan went in and took a team that wasn't the most talented team in the world, but the kids worked hard. They were great kids, and he worked with the personnel that he had to develop his offense, develop his defense around that. And I think that's a great head coach doesn't have his system that's not flexible. You have to have flexibility to work with what you have to work with, and I think that's important.
Greg, was he the only interview?
In person, I interviewed one other person.
Who was that?
Not telling. Good question, though. All right.
Anything else, guys?
Thanks, guys. Roll Tide.
Thanks, Greg.